Hey guys, Exorcist, Season 1, Episode 7, Chapter 7, Father of Lies, and I know it's been a while since I've reviewed The Exorcist. I meant to review this episode back when it first came out. I just never did till now, but I was definitely really looking forward to this episode, even though I wasn't the hugest fan of Episode 6, because like I said, I think things are getting too convoluted. I still have really been enjoying this show so far, and up to that point, they haven't really given me anything that bad. This episode, I think, was back to what the show needs to do. I really enjoyed this episode overall. I thought this was a pretty great episode, and I really do love where we're headed. We only have 3 episodes left, surprisingly, which is pretty crazy, but let's just get into this episode, because there isn't a lot to talk about, because a lot did happen in this episode, definitely, but let's just get right into it. So, we start off with a flash forward, I guess, of what we're going to see. It's actually a flashback to, well, actually not a flash forward, a flashback to 9 days prior. We see Father Tomas is driving Marcus and a physically exhausted Casey to the convent because they need Mother Bernadette's assistance, and Tomas wants to tell the Rances that they found Casey, but Marcus says absolutely not. You know, they can't let them see how much she's deteriorated and how much that she's not, you know, Casey, and he explains that this is a demon with a 40-year-old grudge, and he doesn't want Henry and Angela to witness what it's doing to their daughter, as well as the fact that, as we know, you know, Angela has connections to this demon, because of course, you know, she's actually Regan. But I thought that was a really good way to start things off, us seeing what's going on there. And we cut to present day, where Father Tomas is leading a service which includes a prayer for the safe return of Casey. While he's preaching to his parishioners, Tomas is remembering intimate times with Jessica, and a lot of this episode does focus on their relationship, and I'm one of the few people who actually does like where their relationship is going, because I think it really gives Tomas something to do. You know, one of his biggest things that he's been conflicted with all season is, do I pursue a relationship with her? And that's something that he is very much plagued by throughout this entire episode. We definitely see. So the Rance family returns home after the service. They're surrounded by the media because, as we know, this really has gone public, and Chris McNeil asked them to please let the family alone, but of course, they're not listening. So Mother Bernadette says in the 9 days they've had Casey, the demon has tripled in strength, and if they fail, they'll be unleashing a terrible evil on the world, and you know, to them, this is a horrible thing that's going on, which, yeah, it is. But in an empty field, volunteers are still searching for Casey, and Bishop Egan meets up with Father Tomas during the search and admits that he was wrong in not sanctioning the exorcism. And I like that he apologized, because as we know, you know, the bishop was thinking that this was completely fine, what was going on, that there really wasn't anything bad going on. But now he knows that he was wrong. He wants to know Marcus's whereabouts, but Tomas doesn't want to give it up, and Bishop calls Marcus an enemy of the church, and Tomas again denies that he's seen Marcus, which we know he has. So I thought it was definitely interesting to see the way that whole situation's going. But I do like the way that they are kind of getting the church on their side, because I thought the church was going to be the villain, which I still think they kind of are. You know, there is that grouping led by Maria and everything, but it seems that they've got the bishop on board right now. So back at the Rance home, a national TV show interviews the family to keep spreading the word about the search for Casey. The interviewer asks if Casey's disappearance is related to what happened to Angela as a child, and when the family won't answer that, she follows up by asking if Casey is a danger to the public, what happened to the ambulance personnel, and did she really attack a man on the L train? And the family is upset by this line of questioning, and when the interviewer then asks about the psych hold Casey was placed under, Angela calls an end to the interview, which I think was definitely the right thing to do. I mean, obviously, you know, they don't want them to get involved with their daughter. They want this to be as secret as possible, and obviously they don't want to expose Casey, so I thought it was the right thing to do. But the nuns are obviously going through very physical and mental trauma as they work on freeing Casey from the demon. Mother Bernadette, Father Tomas, and Marcus continue with the exorcism, which has lasted on and off for nearly 2 weeks. Like, it's basically been an exorcism for, like, episode 5, so you can't really say that there wasn't a full exorcism. It's still going on, and Casey looks horrible. The room is falling apart around her, books are flying, drawers are pulled out, and it just really is not working out well. But the nun is tossed with just a simple look by Casey. Father Tomas is bitten by the demon. You can tell the demon is having a much bigger control over Casey. Like, Casey very quickly is starting to lose control, but the demon is really starting to take hold of her, and you're definitely starting to see that here. But Father Tomas dresses the bite wound on his hand, while Marcus says the demon is like a big bloody shark, and Marcus confesses that he almost killed Casey in the water, but God ripped through his hands and brought her back. And I thought it was interesting to see. Now, we knew obviously that she wasn't going to die, but he was contemplating whether or not to just kill her, because again, he doesn't know if she really is just a lost cause. But and Tomas wants to know if he really felt God in his hands, and if so, does that mean that God saved both Casey and the demon? And Marcus tells him not to go there and to not question what happened, because he just, not to question what's going on there. So I thought that was definitely interesting to see. And the way that Marcus is kind of being secretive towards Tomas, I thought was very interesting. Their bond has always been such a strong part of the show that him keeping this secret from him, I think, was kind of interesting to see. But Henry and Angela then leave the house. There are both protesters and supporters outside along with reporters. The wife and ambulance driver approaches Angela in tears, blaming the little demon girl for her husband's death, and Angela apologizes, saying she tried to stop them, and there really was nothing they could do, though. So Henry rushes her back inside the house and away from the crowd, and I like the way that they're continuing their relationship, even though we know that things aren't great between these two, because there's a lot that she kept from him. I like that right now it seems that these two are staying on good terms. I like the way that's going, but Bishop Egan and Father Ben don't realize that they're meeting with devil worshippers. They go over the final details on the Pope's visit. Father Bennett wants to know about the security that's lined up, but isn't happy with Superintendent Jaffrey's arrangements. And Father Bennett says that there are too many risks with this new plan. He wants them to go back to the original plan and head straight to the stadium. And Jaffe tries to assure them that they've handled bigger events before, including President Obama's visit. And Father Simon, the man who led the secret ceremony at Maria's party, chimes in that he's gone all over the new precautions. And Father Bennett doesn't know Father Simon, or really why he's at the meeting. All we know is that we can't trust this guy, because this is the guy that obviously is leading Maria's group, and Maria explains that Simon heads up fundraising, and that's why he's part of the group. Father Ben tells the group about what he's discovered about fundraising, and about Tattersall's landscaping $3 million papal planning committee donation. And Tattersall, which is owned by the Walters family, went out of business years ago, so how did it make this huge donation? We don't really know. So Father Simon promises to look into it, and I think this is a very interesting mystery of what's going on. There's clearly something going on with this group that we can't trust, and we still don't really know what's going on there. And again, I think gives us another mystery to solve in these 4 episodes. So over at the Rand's house, Father Tomas asks Chris what Georgetown was like. She says it was like a free falling down a flight of stairs. Fortunately, they did have good priests who gave their lives to save them, and I like the way they are utilizing Chris pretty well. I know that she's kind of background right now, and I know some people have been turned off by what they did with her character. I think it makes sense, though, the way that she kind of selfishly used Regan to, promote her and things like that. I do like the way that these two are reconciling right now. I like the direction that's going, but Father Tomas lies to Angela and the family that he hasn't talked to Marcus, and of course we know he has, and Angela's worried that Casey and the demon have been integrated, and she asks Father Tomas if he thinks that Casey's alive, and he says yes, assuring her he has faith. And I think he did this because he doesn't want Angela and her family to, of course, go after the demon, because I think he's worried about, one, the demon, he doesn't want them to see Casey in such a deteriorating state. 2, the demon could come back for Regan, as we know, and she wants to know how God could let this happen, because she doesn't really understand how this could have happened to them a second time. But Father Tomas returns to the convent. He finds Casey's condition has deteriorated even further. Veins are showing all over her face, her body is failing, and honestly, they did a really good job at making her look as gross as possible. Like, the makeup on her is outstanding, honestly. I think they really have done an incredible job with that on the show. The demon's been quiet all morning as it attacks her from within, and if they can't draw down and finish the exorcism, Casey will, in fact, die. And just knowing that this is happening to her, and that there's, it feels like, it's crunch time. It really does feel that way, and it is, in fact, crunch time. So I like the way that we're getting down to it. And Mother Bernard then sedated Casey, and Marks is upset that he can't wake her up to continue the exorcism. The nuns have decided to allow Casey to pass without any more suffering, and Mother Bernard says that Casey is rotting before their eyes, and that the Belladonna ensures that they don't release the integrated souls back into the world. The sisters will not play any further roles in helping Marcus and Father Tomas with the exorcism, and she tells Marcus to think about whether he's doing this now for his own sake, or is he doing it for Casey's? Because as we know, all of this started with Tomas thinking that this was something that was going to help him find his passion back, that this was, more like a passion project. This was something that he was going to do to get back on track, to make sure that he would be able to, perform an exorcism. He's doing this for his benefit, and I like the way she's really starting to get him to question that, because, yeah, that is how this whole thing started, and the big question is he really doing it to help Casey, or is he really doing it for his benefit? We don't really know at this point, but Angela and her mom then look at a photo album that has pictures of Casey and Kat as kids, and this is a pretty good scene. Angela talks about Kat's birth after 17 hours of labor, and Chris says she knows that Angela is a wonderful mom. Angela recalls that when she was a kid, she sat on Steve McQueen's lap and sang Jingle Bells. She also confesses that she believed her mom got off easily, but now she realized how hard it is to watch someone go through a possession, and I really did like this. It's a good scene showing how Angela saw Chris then and how she sees her now, and Angela still doesn't remember what happened in that room, but knows she felt so dirty she believes she never feel clean again, and if Casey comes home, Angela will tell her she's clean and that none of this was her fault, and she'll say it over and over again until she believes her, and I thought this was a really well done scene. You can really tell that Angela feels guilty for what happened, because yeah, she was like the first person to get possessed, and she feels like this is kind of her fault, but as she explains what she'll do, Angela placed a photo of Casey in a water glass. She then cleans it off as though she's scrubbing off the real Casey, and tears well up in Chris's eyes as she watches her daughter wipe Casey's photo dry. And of course, this is something that's very hard for Chris to watch, she knows what this is like, and I like the way that they are starting to bond over that, and the amends are starting to be made, because Angela's starting to realize, what Chris went through and what this really did to her, basically. So back at the convent, Father Tomas thinks that he can convince Mother Burnett to change her mind, that he can get her to continue to participate in these exorcisms because he kind of needs her, or maybe they should just take Casey to the hospital, which that's not really going to do anything. I mean, the hospital, they're not exorcists, they don't really know what to do, but Marcus says no to both suggestions, leans over Casey's horribly bruised and bloody body, and he whispers to the demon, telling it it's loved, and I like the way that he's trying to get the demon on their side, and Father Tomas says that the Rance family has the right to say goodbye, and then Casey, not the demon, begs them to stop. Clearly, the demon again is starting to have they don't even have control over the demon anymore. Like, the demon has its own agenda, and we don't really know what it is, but Father Ben visits the Tattersall landscaping building that night, and the storage area is completely empty. There aren't any supplies on the rows of shelves, and there's no evidence any landscaping business takes place at the location. So he's really confused as to what's going on there. The lights flicker, and this is genuinely a very thrilling scene. Like, I really love this scene. It's probably the best scene we've had from Father Ben so far. The lights flicker, he then hears a metallic sounding noise, he spots a row of knives hanging on the wall and an oven where they cooked the body parts from the murder victims. He looks at the ashes and realizes what he's seeing. He opens a door, chopped up bodies are piled up inside, so we know this is probably where all of those bodies have been going, is in the Tattersall landscaping building. And men begin attacking him, clearly because they don't want him to reveal the evidence, and they've been trying to cover this up, but Father Ben is able to hold them off, although it appears something's wrong when he attempts to rid one of the men of the demon inside him. That was insane to see, the fact that he has something inside him, and that he is in fact such a badass, and that he's able to take them down. That was pretty crazy. I always thought that Father Ben was going to be like a disposable character, and I like seeing that he actually is have a purpose, and he actually is playing a major role here. He is a main character, and I like that they're actually giving him stuff to do, because I actually really like Father Bennett, and that was a pretty cool scene. I like the way that's done. But Father Tomas has apparently given up, trying to stay away from Jessica. He's back in her bed once again. I think he's just starting to realize that he can't get rid of her, and she remembers when she first fell in love with him. It's a story he hasn't heard before. She wants time to stop now so they can stay together, but she knows that there's something wrong, and Tomas says he's waiting for a sign, but it hasn't really come yet, so that sign he's been waiting for hasn't come, and Marcus then holds Casey's hand, begging her to keep fighting. Her breathing is slowed, and she's no longer moving, and it really seems like she's near death. Like, it's really getting bad here, but Father Tomas then heads to a drugstore to get something for the bite wound on his hand, and the guy on duty can't give him anything because Tomas doesn't have a prescription, and when a customer wants a selfie with him, Tomas gets upset, repeatedly pushes him. Kind of a silly scene, but I understood, obviously he's now looked at as a celebrity, and he really doesn't want to be, personified as anything. everything. The guy finally has had enough. He punches Tomas in the face. The police come, as does Tomas's benefactor, Maria. She tells the guy declined to press charges, and she wants to know if he was drunk. Tomas says no, it was just stupidity, and he didn't know who else to call. He wonders if she's ever been in a situation where the only way to do the right thing is to do something wrong. Maria has, and Tomas says that one little lie just for the greater good is what he told himself, but that one lie is multiplied, and now he realizes that he's not the rising star everyone believes him to be, and the truth is he's really losing himself. And I like that he's starting to realize that he doesn't really know what he is anymore, and Maria appears to be happy about Tomas's torment, although she keeps her smile in check. You can tell that she is basically trying to destroy him, and that's like her mission, but she is trying to make herself look good, and I think it's going to be very hard for her to keep up that appearance for that much longer. So Casey continues to draw breath slowly as Marcus sits at her side. Mother Bernadette enters the room with a note. It's during the hours when the nuns are under the vow of silence that reads, "Let her go, it's time." And truthfully, Casey looks like she's been dead for days. I mean, her skin is dark, her face is barely recognizable, her teeth are right, she's completely still, and her chest barely rises as she draws breath. I mean, she really looks very decrepit. She looks like a corpse, and she takes in a big gulp of air, and I will say, that's something I've really loved about this show, is that the effects have really improved, so the, possessed Casey looks even creepier than I think the original movie, really. But Father Tomaso returns to the ranch home because Angela's not doing well. She's huddled in the bathtub, she's muttering, she's fidgeting, she seems unaware of her surroundings, and I was like, oh shit, she's gonna get possessed. But she says when Casey ran away, she could feel inside her that Casey was still okay, but today the feeling is gone. She's empty and a part of her is gone, which means that Casey's gone. So she's really starting to get upset that she didn't get to say goodbye to Casey. She's worried that something bad happened to her, and at the convent, Mother Bernadette helps Marcus tend to what appears to be the final moments in Casey's life. Like, it really looks like she's about to die. But Marcus is about to give Casey a drink with belladonna, but he stops saying it's wrong and that God has his hands. He tells Mother Bernadette he won't interfere. Just then, Father Tomas arrives with Angela, and Casey smiles. Suddenly, her eyes are flashing red. She sits up, and it seems that Angela is the thing that gets her to finally wake up, and the demon calls Angela a sow, which is what the demon called Reagan when she was a child. And that is the way the episode ends. Really good stuff overall, but let's just get into this episode and where I think we're headed from here. So I definitely really did enjoy this episode. This was definitely a huge improvement over the last one. The problem with the last episode, I just felt that a little too much was going on. But this episode, there was a lot going on, but it was a lot easier to follow, and I think everything that happened here, I definitely really did enjoy. Let's talk about this demon, because, wow, I mean, did the demon do a good job at fooling literally everyone? It seemed that this demon was near death. It seemed that Casey was going to be gone forever. But then at the last second, once Angela arrived, the demon rises up, and I definitely feel that Angela is very deeply connected to what's going on here. And I've said this since we found out that Angela was Regan, but I definitely feel that there's some sort of connection that Angela has with this demon. And I don't exactly know what it is, if she's going to get possessed, or if she's like, sort of like a host or something like that, or like the vessel for the demon. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking she's like a vessel, like she's the thing for the demon to go into once Casey's body like rots and deteriorates and things like that. Or was this all the demon's plan overall? Was the demon just trying to distract them and try to make or was, just trying to get Angela to the body? We don't really know what's going on here, and that's something I'm definitely interested in seeing, is really what's going to happen with that, because it looked like Casey was near death, but clearly, obviously, she wasn't. Marcus definitely, I think Angela's about to find out that Marcus and Tomas have had conversations. Tomas tried to cover it up for her, but you can tell that she's about to find out what's going to happen there, so that definitely is going to be very interesting. I really do like where Mother Bernadette is headed, where she really does not want any part of this, because again, she's so devoted to her religion. She doesn't want to participate in anything surrounding the devil and things like that, but she kind of has to. She really has no choice. Casey is obviously deteriorating, and she really has no choice but to help Casey, and I really do like the direction that that's going. I think that's very interesting, and I do like that we're starting to find out that Father Tomas, Tomas slowly is losing himself. He's not really, the man he was. Well, when we were first introduced him, I think he's been losing himself, but I think this really is Maria's doing. Like, Maria is trying to destroy him, I think, so she can probably take over and things like that, but that definitely is going to be very interesting to see where that's going to go. I think he's starting to realize that he's not really the priest that everyone thinks he is, because he's not a great priest. I mean, a priest, again, you're not supposed to, have any sexual relations with anyone, and he is committing a sin, and I think he knows that, and I think he's really starting to lose hold of who he really is, and I think that's something that we're really going to focus on in these last 3 episodes, is who is Father Tomas. If he's not a priest, who is he? Because he doesn't know any other version of himself except for the priest. Other than that, he doesn't really know who else he is. So I thought that was definitely interesting to see. Father Bennett, I am definitely very interested in seeing where this is going. I love seeing that he seems to have something inside him, and I like that he's figuring out, what the Tattersall landscaping is all about. I don't think they're going to be able to cover up the evidence for that much longer. I think he's going to want them to, but we'll have to see where that's going to go, because that definitely is very interesting. And we know that one of these men seems to have a demon inside of him, so that definitely is interesting as well. I like that Father Ben's kind of going in his own direction. I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening there. And then finally, Chris, I like that Angela and Chris have seemed to make amends. Like, she's really starting to see what Chris is going through. I like that they've actually brought Chris back, and I think this really did make up for the lack of what we got in the last episode. I like that right now it seems that Chris and Angela are making amends. I like the direction that's headed, but that definitely is going to be very interesting. I don't really know where we're going from him, and I'm definitely very excited to see what these last 3 episodes are going to be. I heard the next episode is insane, so I'm definitely looking forward to it, and that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. I will see you guys in my next one, which will be for episode 8 of The Exorcist, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.